Like and subscribe to our channels for new episodes and updates. Today on Coffee Break, Ruby-Ann Cooper Darling reminisces about the women's suffrage movement and speaks to the challenges facing the next generation of leadership.
Welcome everyone to Coffee Break. I am your guest host, April. Today we have a special guest with us today. She is known to be an ordained minister, a counselor, a former senator, a former member of parliament, and even a Sunday school teacher. But many of you may remember her for being the first Bahamian female to be registered to vote in this country. Please welcome everyone to the coffee desk today, Miss Ruby-Ann Cooper Darling. How are you?
I'm fine, and thank you so much for having me at coffee.
Yes, I love this color. I already complimented you since you walked in the door. It's a beautiful color on you.
Thank you. I think it's appropriate for what we stand for, the loyalty, the braveness and sobriety
Yes.
of,
That royal bloom.
of course.
It's outstanding. Thank you. But, I want to start off. Everyone obviously knows that, well, I shouldn't say everyone, but people know you for being that first woman who had been registered to vote.
Mhm.
But I want to take it a little bit back, before that. And I want to kind of get a feel for the time. Because I think we as young persons or people in general may take for granted the fact that we can even vote. And then for you to have been the first woman who had voted, what was it like prior to now where, we have these liberties? Talk to me a little bit about.
Yeah, not so much April as to vote, but to register to vote. Let's look at it pre-times. We were colony, so we were under law and order. We had to do what England said, God save the Queen. And so there was growing up, there was, in spite of what you would say, hardships and depravity and all like that, but there was law and order, there was togetherness, there was sobriety of mind and spirit. But the one thing about it is that as a people, coming from the diaspora, scattered, coming out of Africa and being oppressed and being maligned and marginalized, that there were some things that were near and dear to us as your inherent right to be able to vote, to express yourself, that was denied with us. And so not only were women not allowed to vote, but men who had nothing. What do I have to bring to the table? Nothing. No property, no bind book, no nothing. The only little book they had may have been the policy book and the lodge book, which were their holdings along with the Bible. That's their 3 books. And so you found out that if the men didn't have any property, they could not vote. So they were also marginalized. And so the women, but especially because, let's look at it, April. When anything happens, we're the primary victims.
Yeah.
Why? Because if it isn't well with our husband, it isn't well with our children, well with our home, then we as women aren't happy.
That's so true.
And so here comes a woman whose husband ran for office, Mr. Ingram, up in Acklands, Crooked Island, thereabout. And he felt so bad after. Nobody feels good after a defeat. I don't care how you would accept it, but deep within the homes of your heart, there is sadness. And he felt sad, and he says, if the women were able to vote, I would have won, because the women were supporting him and all like that. And Mary Ingram, that struck a note with her, that went deep into her innermost being. And she got women of like minds as she did, women who were prominent in the Bible. Now, let's look at it now. Women may not have been able to be to the forefront of politics and all like that, but in their own way, they had their own politics going. They kept a soup. They were head of the lodges, no matter what you call them, they might have been the maids and scrubbing the floors. But when they came home in the evening and they put on that uniform and get all regaled up, you had to call them most worshipful, grand, worthy matron. They were in the church, they were the evangelists, they were the pastors. If the pastor wasn't there, it did not mean that church could not keep. So women were always involved. In most cases, they were the breadwinners. And when the time came and the men went away looking for jobs on we call it on the contract, to pick fruits in Florida and there along up the coast because the war was on and the men went to war. They took care of the homes. They were the first teachers.
Wow.
It's mother who teaches you. You get your early training at home. And so burning within the hearts and it ignited, like the song said, it only takes a spark to get a fire going. And so you had women like Mabel Walker. And see, April, I knew all these women, you know. It isn't that I jump from the sky and say, boom, I'm here to go to register. I knew all these women. I knew Miss Mabel Walker because her husband was the doctor. And we went down there. If corn had to be ground, you had the mill, and the mill was almost in there, next to their hotel. I knew Eugenia Lockett because I grew up on 8th Street. She was through Peter Street. Her Ragged Island people were Hay Street and Mason's Addition. I knew Georgiana Simonet, right? I knew all these women. I knew Doris Johnson. She was through Mason's Addition. So I was not a stranger to these women. And so when they had their meetings going, while I may not have been deep down in the meetings, I knew the goings on because at that time my father was on as a male, arousing the social consciousness of the man as to what majority rule was all about, and the liberation and setting free and being masters of their own fate. So it was a time of, the atmosphere was charged when these women came together and galvanized the other women, and there was no disparity to say, you were a big cheese, I was a little cheese. There were women coming together. The petition went around and, hey, where do I sign? Can't sign, make eggs. That's good enough. We'll tell you what it's all about. But just support. And so there was support like you've never seen before.
And at the time, you were 21, correct?
After they got the right to vote.
Okay.
Yeah. I was 21.
Yeah,
I had just gotten 21 on a Friday.
And that's correct.
On a Friday. And if you would look when the registration began, it was just days. It was a Friday, no work Saturday, none Sunday. And I think it was that Monday that everything was due. And the Spirit of the Lord spoke to me. So, Ruby, I didn't make you to be 21 on the 28th of June. He said, if those women fought for it, go and get the prize.
Wow.
Go and get the prize. And this is what the Lord spoke to me as I speak the truth from heaven. He says, and don't let the other women get the prize.
Wow. Wow.
You know.
I want to, you said it was this sense of strength and courage, and I wonder though, because it was not this normal thing, or it wasn't normal at that time. You were fighting for something to be normal.
Of course.
Was it not? Did you feel? Was it? What was your real? Was it not a time of maybe confusion? Maybe did you really think this was going to happen? Did you feel like, it was you guys had an easy fight? What was your thinking process during this time? And you're a young,
yes,
20
because as
year
I said. Prior to this, while they were getting things together and the gatherings, and I went to some meetings. Now you have to look, I was very involved because at the age of 10, I was the organist in the church. And my dad went to preach from place to place. He was quite ecumenical. And so wherever he went, I went to play the music because I had been to Alison Maynard's grandmother for music. And so I was well versed in the rudiments and the practicality of music. So I was able to read the notes that was put in me. So I knew all the happenings. I was privy to all of the happenings. But at that time, I did not see myself. I was not gearing up to see myself as the first woman to register as a voter. Because when I look at it, and I told it in other areas, that if you had followed the pattern, Mary Ingram, Georgiana Simmons, Mabel Walker, Doris Johnson, okay? As I said, Georgiana, those 5 women, really, they should have been the forerunners and the vanguards. To when it was time to go and register, they should have slept there that night. They should have camped out that night to line up to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe I was behind 6. Okay? But I guess after they went and got the petition and got the right, I don't think it dawned upon them of
that historic moment
was to go and to be registered. And that's why the Lord said, if they fought for it, don't let the other women get. Now, see, the other women were in their comfort zone. They had nothing to worry about. Their husband had lands in every nook and cranny. So they were comfortable and they were taken care of, well taken care of. They had no sweat. They had no toil.
I want to get your feelings on persons today. I can't imagine being someone who was the first person to be the first woman to be registered to vote, and then look and see now. I don't know how much of a conversation you have with a lot of people, but there's a lot of people who don't care to vote nowadays, and I'm wondering, how does that feel for you, considering you were a part of that history and that legacy?
There is it. It's a name. Would you say it? History?
Yes.
History is past. And history is just like music. The notes are on the page. But the musician has to bring that music to life. If not, it stays on the page.
Yes, it does.
History isn't history to be for the books and for the archives. History is to tell the story. The Bible said, tell the story to generations and ensuing generations, and we don't tell the story. That's why if we tell the story, we just vocalize it for the moment, but we don't internalize it. It isn't within us. It's only
That's so true.
on our lips for the passing moment, and then it's discarded. And so the young people, you know what a rich history, could you imagine a place like the Bahamas and the strides that women have made in this country? America really hasn't made that. America was in 1776. We just became a nation in 1973, majority rule in 1967. And they have a saying that a woman's place is in the house. Right now, in spite of, there's VP Harris being the first woman to be vice president of the great United States. But the women's still in the yard. Then in the house said she isn't the president. But look what we've had in our short tenure. We had Mother Pratt, Deputy Prime Minister of this country, and acting when Prime Minister Perry Christie was sick. And had he transitioned while he was sick and say absent from the body and present with your Lord, Mother Pratt would have been by virtue of the chain of command. She would have been the Prime Minister for the tenure, for the duration of that length of the time of the, that's within the time of being elected. But didn't she act as Prime Minister while Prime Minister Christie? So we have made strides beyond measure. We stand tall with the accomplishments of women in this country, from the washboard, scrubbing board, to in charge of the boardroom, the CEO of the boardroom, head of the central bank, and so on.
But we do not, like you said already, don't tell the story.
And we do not celebrate our people.
No, we don't celebrate our people.
We don't tell the story. So why blame the children? Why blame the young girls when they...
Where do you think that comes from? Why do we not celebrate our people? Because culturally, that's how we are. We could call other countries and cultures, and they take pride. We know more about the United States history than we know of our own history. And other countries know of their own history and culture and rich culture than we know of our own. Where do you think culturally that comes from? Why do we not celebrate our people and our history?
There's something called national pride. My country is the sweet land of liberty. Okay? We don't take our country seriously. We did mine. We were a totally conscious people of what nationality is all about when we were British subjects, but somehow when we became masters of our own fate and got majority rule, we would stand up all day and don't scratch. You better don't scratch because your hand to your side. The sun hot and you sweat and you won't even wipe your face. And you're going to stand here and sing God Save Our Gracious Queen, and you sing it loudly too. And you're going to pay attention and do. The minute we got, mind you, we began to build. The building began with good foundation. And we started to put blocks in place. But look at the building now. Look at our national building, which, hey, as I drive to and fro, gets me sad. To see people, you could tell they're dead. Grass grow up to the place, unkept, no maintenance. And while those people live, nice gardens, nice everything. And desolation has taken hold of our country. But guess what? It's not too late. And just how I passed and saw a building that I didn't even know a building was there. Why? Because the wines had taken over the whole blocks and all like that. But I saw some man one day pulled up as I would pass through that corner. And Claire, I said, I didn't know a building was there. And now you should begin to see it. It's beginning to come into a place of beauty. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to go back. The building is still there, but we have to do some visitation and begin to take care. Because if we don't, we have nothing to leave for our children. We have to arouse the consciousness to know that, hey, you should be so proud of your country.
Agree with you.
We do more nonsense here in our country. When we get to America, we button up, we straighten up, we park up right, we give signals. How could you love somebody else? Shakespeare said, first to thine own self be true, and then thou canst be false to anybody else. How you can love another person's country more than you love your country? I look at it and I'm sad because what? I see desolation. No more pride. You keep your... No more pride. We as women were doing it. You look at the street and you begin to say, oh boy, how did we get so? But... I like the word but, which means, like they say, carrying you somewhere. I have something to tell you, but there has to be the fire. We must ignite, and because see we now, Revelation says, strengthen the things that remain, that are ready to die. And right now we're in the ICU and we on the ventilator.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we're on the ventilator. And we need CPR and to breathe some breath because it's a little spark right there. We could feel a little pulse. So we have to keep on pumping to revive. And I'm praying to God, revive us, Lord. Resuscitate us. We're ready to die, but Lord, a little spark of breath is in there, so there's hope. And there's hope in people like yourself and young women around. And the women are going to play a very important role in the resuscitation of our country.
I believe that. I really, really do. Well, that's why I have so much more questions for you on just that topic of women. But of course, we will return after this break.
Thank you.
The Progressive Liberal Party is the party of hope,
innovation, and unity,
We are the party for all Bahamians.
regardless of your race.
gender,
Or creed,
This party was founded on November 23, 1953. By Mr. William Cartwright
Mr. Cyril Stevenson,
and Mr. Henry Milton Taylor,
to establish a party
for the deprived,
the disenfranchised,
and downtrodden in our society.
Being the first organized political party in Bahamian history.
The road was rough and came with many challenges.
After suffering two general election defeats in 1956 and 1962,
On January 10th, 1967, we were led by Lyndon Oscar Pinley to our majority rule victory.
it was a dream many had lived for, and some thought was unattainable.
Against all odds and through the years of hardship,
Blood,
sweat, and tears,
the Progressive Liberal Party
proved to be the party
of hope.
and transformation.
During those years,
The Bahamas saw unprecedented economic, social,
And educational growth as a nation.
as a result, we went on to achieve independence.
and launched institutions like the National Insurance Board
the Royal Bahamas Defense Force,
The College of the Bahamas
and many others,
PLP initiative and policies
formed the foundation for national development and progress.
paving the way for modern-day Bahamas.
Recent PLP administrations continued this trend.
By establishing the Urban Renewal Program,
the National Health Insurance,
BAMSI,
The National Training Agency,
and the University of the Bahamas.
but as we celebrate 67 years as a party,
We must continue to grow with new faces
and new innovative ideas, we'll hold fast to our core principles to be the voice of the voiceless
and fight for the rights and empowerment of all Bahamians.
in the progressive Bahamas.
We will be the party that ensures every Bahamian reaches their full potential. We fought for you before, and we can and will do it again.
The future is bright, the opportunities are limitless, and we are headed for a great victory.
PLP,
PLP,
all the way!
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee Break. We are still here with my special guest, and we were just diving into a little bit of women and of course the value of women in culture, in our culture, and how important it's going to play a role for our future. And I want to get your take on some of the women in politics today. I feel, this is my personal belief, I personally feel like there are some women who are in some higher seats that may not use their voice in such a way that it should be used. We have issues of, and I say this from being a former journalist, where I was able to interview some of them and they would say, no, I don't want to talk on that. Things like domestic violence, things like, just things that, of course, we as women should be sensitive to and should have a voice for. I want to get your take on that. What's your take on women in our politics today? And do you see progression? Do you feel confident in where we're going? Or do we still need some work?
Well, as you said that, April, I go to Esther. You just cannot be satisfied with the ambience and the all the grandeur of being a queen and all like that. There must be something within you, something that you cannot explain or, but you notice here that if something is not right, you forget about you being a queen. You remember that you're a woman. And if I don't speak up, and remember, because I am the queen, the other women of the land are looking up to me. And if I turn a scary cat and scared to speak up, then what I'm doing, then the other women are gonna do likewise. Not wise. They're not gonna be wise. They're gonna be likewise. So if you come up in politics and a matter comes up and you let fear grip you, that I can't say nothing, and you do not only a disservice to yourself, you do a disservice to generations yet unborn, because you did not speak. Esther say, I know I'm queen, I have everything going for me, but my people are being marginalized and being persecuted. And hey, what that am right? I say, let goods and kindreds go. There's mortal body and everything. The body they may kill, but God's truth abideth still. She said, and if I perish, I perish. When I went out, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't going to let anybody intimidate me. I was on giving my budget speech in the House Assembly. And I said that in calling for them to drain, to dredge the channel in Ragged Island. And I said we need to dredge this channel because one day I see Ragged Island being restored to its former glory. Because when Cuba opens, I'm in the front speaking. I'm in the back, the cabinet minister's in the front. He turns around to me and says, stop talking foolishness. But when Cuba opens, that intimidate, you know what I said? You may not be here when it'll happen, but it will happen. And I kept on speaking. I could not let him intimidate me, and then I start trembling and all like that. So when we go to the house, unless we're able to be like Helen, the waitress, who takes the order and goes in the back and tell Charlie, this is the order, and I need this order, and only if you don't have this order, let me know so that I can go and tell the people that we don't have that, but we can offer something else. So as women, when we make up our minds to go to House Assembly, we ain't going on there to be on no show. It ain't one for the money, it ain't two for the show. It's three to get ready and four to go. So if you're afraid, I'm saying now, if you're scared and afraid, so when you get up there, you can't speak, take a seat where you are.
Agreed.
Yeah, take a seat. Because you're going for the show. Okay? It's time to go.
And that goes for anyone. That goes for male and female.
All and sundry. You know the phrase?
Yes.
All and sundry.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to also get your take on if we as a country are getting closer to seeing a female prime minister. You said that we have been progressive throughout the years compared to other countries. Do you think we'll see it anytime soon?
Well, the people have to decide that. The people have to be hungry for it. And if they get hungry for it, it will happen. But if there's, laissez-faire and drawback and don't care and complacency, it won't happen. For a woman or for anybody, specifically for a woman, it must burn within the hearts. You have to want it, and want it bad enough that you'll work towards achieving it.
On that same note, I think about, like you said, we have to want it. We have to be hungry for it. I think about going back to our earlier question about people who don't care to vote. I wonder, the importance of, this is how I see election time, and we see it even in the United States, where that undecided voter is so crucial, because sometimes an election can be given to someone who might not even necessarily have been the people's choice, but because there was such a huge amount of people that stayed out of it, it just ended up going to a particular person or party. I remember the president of the United States now, Donald Trump, he said the reason he won, he said this, was because the black voters decided to stay out. And now you see black voters showing up, minority voters showing up, and then you have a new president in place. I think about how important it is to vote. I know that. But what do you say to people who do not see the value of voting, who do not feel like my vote really matters? What do you say, especially watching Time?
No, they say that's because the interest hasn't been, stimulated. They haven't been told the importance. See, it's a teaching, it's teach them, teach the children, lead them, don't leave them. See, because we have been leaving them and not leading them. Oh, but I need to vote. I went to Detroit, Michigan. I asked for Aretha. My sister said she's doing all right. One night late, we heard she was gravely ill. Okay? I went down and went to church and spoke to her vigil. Went and saw her in her 4 places that she was laid out. And when I saw the turn out of those people as they wrapped miles and miles to see her body as she lay reposed. You know what I told them? The whole day. I said, listen, I'm from the Bahamas. I said, Aretha Franklin did not die in vain. I said, you know why she died? The same way you could come out here to see her body, that's the same way you'll get the same energy and go and vote when it's time to vote. And I said that loud and clear because the papers the media even came and interviewed me. I said, you'll have to vote. I said, Aretha died to stimulate you all to see. No matter, I said, look how long y'all have been just to go to look at you, say you come to see the face. So we have to arouse, we have to begin to fan the fire. We have to let these young girls and say that, guess what? If you know how important you are in deciding, quo vadis, where goest thou? Where goes the country? If you only realize that, you're about to vote. It's your God-given right, not only for you, and especially your children, but your children and generations yet unborn.
I definitely, I agree with you when you say it has to be a stimulation that happens, and then there's that interest that follows. I wonder for you, what would you suggest to young women, and I'm talking about young women who might be thinking about coming into politics? What do you want to see with maybe younger women coming up into politics?
It has to be. It's a process. It's grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Begin first in the home. Get involved in a good church. Be a part of it. Make yourself useful. All of these are building blocks. You see, a lot of people who are in politics today have no leadership trail. Many of them even play marbles. I know marbles when you was trying to play marbles. They ain't been boys brigade. They ain't been good. They never come up on the stage and say my recitation is entitled in Sunday school. When you want to be a leader, there must be a leadership trail. You go in America, everybody ain't no newcomer talking about you come from out of nowhere and jump in the line talking about you rocking your body on time. You have to have a leadership trail. You have to be proven.
Absolutely agree.
And so if anybody, young woman, wants to be involved, start now. Brighten the corner. Start from the corner where you are. Let your light shine. Don't take your light and put it under the bed. Okay, begin to begin to make yourself known. The Bible says Jesus grew in favor and in stature with not only God, but with, but that song they sang, Funky Nash, also get involved.
Yes.
Yeah. I say my 2 words to you, get involved.
Yes. First of all, I'm so happy you said that because I've been preaching this. And especially now that election times, we're getting into election times. I think I said it on the stage before. I hope to not see people just jumping in. I hope to see you from now and see what you're about from now. Before election time starts, I hope to hear what your message is.
Yes.
I hope to see you in the streets talking to people, helping communities. I don't personally get it. If you're serious about politics and that's your passion, and I'd like to think when you get into politics, you have to be passionate about it.
Of course.
Because politics is
It's all encompassing.
Exactly.
Yes.
You know, you can lose a lot. You can risk a lot for your family. It can be at risk when your involvement in politics is there. So I feel like the passion should be there, but it always confuses me when people get involved and you don't know where they came from. You don't know what their plan is. And then once they're elected, they just sit there and, you know, like you would have said.
Because they have no trail. They have nothing to back them up. The luster is just for a fleeting moment.
Yes.
And all the luster and all the brightness goes. And no wonder why they and people say, we don't see them or hear from, because guess what? They have nothing to offer.
Yeah.
Because why? They did not come up through the rank and file and work toward a goal. You have to have a goal. If you want to be a leader, you have to begin getting involved. And the one thing that they leave out is, like you say, you came up under Miles Monroe. The church is the first political body, first constituency. Get involved in a good church. Be faithful. Be disciplined. Learn to be disciplined. And then you come, and that's why so many of our leaders are what I call a fly-by-night when it comes as far as politics is concerned, because here is the table and they bring nothing to the table. But I tell you one thing, whatever you put on the table, they want it, they take it. But they don't bring anything to the table.
What do you, and this will be, of course, our last question. I cannot believe the time has gone by us, but what do you hope to see in the next prime minister of this country? What are you hoping to see?
Yeah, a prime minister wouldn't just stick to the party, being partisan. And this polarization, it's serious in this country to the point that hate has taken on. Hate is bringing about the desolation of the foundation of our thing. I'd like to see a leader who doesn't care with your political beliefs, because there's only one Bahamas, who would bring the people together in the bond of pride and loving our country. Lift up your head to the rising sun. But I don't know, I could go back and visit it to see if it say lift up your head to the rising sun, PLB or FNM. I can go check that out, because that may be it. I guess that's why things happening, because when you say Bahama, it says lift up your head to the rising sun. So you didn't vote for me. Well, that's your right. But I'm your member of parliament. So what is it you need? Okay? Like the ambulance. Let the police find out who run the red light. I'm here to get you to the hospital. Okay? So I think we need to be, it needs to be more as a coalition. That's your right to vote. But what can I do for you to make this land a better land?
I love it. I could not have said it better than that. That is powerful. And as a young woman to a woman I look up to, we're on the same page. That is what I look for in the next prime minister as well.
Well, I say praise the Lord. We're in the spirit.
We are in the spirit. That's what it is. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. And, hopefully we have you sooner than later again. But the conversation was profound. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you all for tuning in to Coffee Break. I am your guest host, April Sands. We will be here, of course, next week, same time, same place, same coffee table. Thanks so much.